All right, now we're set up. Okay, so so what you see here is this is the results from one of the ISAs that I work with, which is an inside sales associate or a telemarketer. And on this sheet here, as you guys are familiar with it, up here is sphere. And then the goal, and this is assuming like with the sphere of influence, you're doing single line dialing. You're dialing one line at a time. Or and so out of 30 dials, you'll probably make about 5 contacts. Or you might even make more. You might make upwards of 50% conversion on sphere of influence where you're calling. You might get 15 contacts, which will reduce your dials per hour to somewhere around 20. Because if a lot of people are answering, you're going to get fewer dials. And so then your lead conversion is about 25% of the people you talk to are going to provide you a lead. So that's what this ratio should show you. So next is expired listings, right? So here you have expireds, and this is new expired. So typically with a new expired, you're gonna actually just be calling them one at a time, not usually using a dialer. If you are using a dialer, you're gonna use a single line dialer. Same kind of ratios, 30 dials per hour, 5 contacts. Your leads are about 1/4 of 1%. For sale by owners, you might put that into a single line dialer to move through them pretty quick. For sale by owners typically don't always answer the phone, so you might use a single line dialer. So that's going to move our dials per hour to about 50 because we're not sitting there physically dialing the phone. That'll give us 9 contacts per hour and a conversion of about 0.5%. The reason I have 0.5% here is because basically what we're saying here is with for sale by owners, most of them will let you come see the house because your close is, can I come see the home to see if it matches, see if the home's features match any of the features that my buyers are looking for. And your goal with the for sale by owner is to start up a conversation. Now, the conversion from appointment to listing signed is difficult because with for sale by owners, inherently, they're trying to sell their home themselves, so it takes them longer to convert. Here's old expireds is, again, single line dialer with the old expired, so that's your 50 dials per hour, 9 contacts per hour, and 0.5%. So here you can see this is Catherine, and Catherine used to work for me. She has since been accepted into Harvard, so she quit to go become like a doctor or professor or something that is much smarter than I am. So I'll stay selling real estate. But here you can see this day, 5/19/15, she worked from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock that afternoon. She started at 3 p.m. She started dialing. She finished at 2 p.m., so she had 2 hours of dial time. She made 181 total dials. She averaged 90.5 dials per hour. So she was moving right there. There was not a lot of people probably answering the phone. She made 39 contacts with 0 leads. So she had a lot of conversation, no appointment set. So that wasn't a great day. And then down here you see she switched over to calling neighborhoods. And this was just a specific neighborhood that she was calling. The script she was using was, we have lots of buyers looking in the area. There's massive low inventory. There's multiple offers. Is any of your neighbors interested in selling their home? Are you interested in selling your home? Are you interested in a comparable market analysis? And are you interested in any additional information? Would you like to be added to our interest list? That's the script which I provided, I believe, also in week 1 or 2. So you can see here she started at 1, she finished at 3. So between 1 and 3, she was calling neighborhoods. Between 3 and 5, she was calling old expireds. She called for 2 hours. She made 150 dials, 75 contacts, or 75 dials per hour, 17 contacts, and 1 lead from that. So a lead defined in this example is just somebody who says, yeah, I might be interested in the future. Can I follow up? So it wasn't something that converted to an appointment. Now, you'll see here in the dials per hour ratio, it switches from 50 to 80. This is assuming you're using a multi-line dialer. Multi-line dialer is, dialing multiple lines at a time, which will allow you to get through it. The only time I really recommend using a multi-line dialer is on neighborhood calls, or if you're calling buyer leads that came through the internet. So internet leads, where you have a lot of them, 300, 400 that have come in over a month, it's just very inefficient to call them one at a time, to just do your follow-ups. So then down here, we'll move to the next day. She worked 1 to 5. She started calling old expireds here, and then she moved to new expireds. So old expireds 1:30 to 2:30, she called for an hour. She made 90 dials. So she averaged 90 dials per hour. She made 14 contacts, no leads. Here it was 2:30 to 4:30, 2 hours, 75 total dials. Did 35 dials per hour because, again, she's dialing single line dialer. At this point, she was on just those single line, one call at a time. She made 8 contacts and got 1 lead. And then down here, you see, again, this day she did old expireds 2 to 5, 3 hours, 180 dials, 60 dials per hour, total of 30 contacts, no leads. So as you can see here, when we come down, and I can show you her totals for the week. Let me go to a different screen for you guys. And I'll explain to you why this is important here. Okay, here you can see her totals for the week. So the 15th, 16th, 17th, she didn't work the 18th, she worked the 19th, the 22nd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 29th. Totals for the week were total hours worked were 22 hours. Total hours dialed was 10 hours dialed for that week. Total dials for that week were 13. I'm sorry, this was 8 days, so it was a week and a half. Was 1,376 dials. Total contacts were 196. Total appointments were 2. Total nurtures were 2, and database was 4. So as you can see here, what started off looking like it was very ineffective, when you look at the ratios by the end of the week and understanding that the conversion on appointments is typically 60%, and if your average commission check is roughly $6,000 to $9,000, depending on where you're at in the market, your return on investment is actually pretty good under these scenarios. So you're setting in this case, she's working 22 hours, and she's getting a listing every other week through these efforts. So one of the reasons I share this with you is you need to track. One of the things you need to do is track your ratios so we can see how to improve. Because we can see with her, one area that we can improve is from the time that she's working 22 hours, but she's only on the phone 50% of the time. So she's spending a lot of time getting ready, getting prepared, consolidating lists, doing those kind of things, which is inefficiency in our process, okay? We can improve our contacts per dial ratio. The ratio between dials and people that are answering is dependent on how good is our list. So we could go back here and see dials per contacts on the 17th and the 19th and the 22nd were not very good. So we could adjust this ratio by calling different times of the day. She could call in the evening to improve that ratio where people are more likely to be home. Call on Saturdays where people are more likely to be home, or maybe call a different type of list to improve that ratio. If we look at dials to contacts, right, we can see this, and this is typically about a 15 to 18% ratio. Dials to contacts is typically 18%, so she's right in there. It's a little bit low. And then contacts to appointments made is 2%. So how do we, or is 2, and we want to see about 2%. So what we can see here is the problem is probably scripting. It could be the quality of the list. So it just really depends. Like here, this day she made 10 contacts, got 1 appointment. That's a great day. which this has got to be wrong. It says 40 dials. It's probably off, or 4 dials. So we can kind of flush out a little bit more what's going on here to approve our ratios. Is it a script? Is it objection handlers? Are we digging deep enough? Are we closing for the appointment? So do you guys have any questions on ratios? Any questions? David, you have a question?
Yes, so this is pretty standard?
No, this is just an example of somebody. This was a girl, she's 22 years old. I hired her just as a telemarketer, just somebody to make outbound calls. She has no experience. This was after 2 weeks of training. This was her 3rd and 4th week. So
yeah, but she's going to Harvard.
She's a smart one, no doubt. Yep. So there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, when you look at an agent that knows a little bit about something that's going to, that has to do, like myself, one-man band at the present time, it's got to start out doing it, in the next 6 months doing this by myself. What type of ratio, what type of ratios should I be looking for?
Well, honestly, David, yours are probably going to be better because here's the things that a telemarketer can't answer. They can't overcome objections like, well, what type of marketing do you do? What are you going to do differently? They can't overcome what is your commission that you charge?
Yeah.
So they're a little bit, their objection handler for all that is, well, let me, can I have the agent call you, or I'll happy to have the agent call you, or I'll have the agent go over that when they meet with you. So if you look at this contact to appointment ratio, you're going to be much better than he is. Okay?
Okay.
Now, where your challenge is going to be in hours dialed, right?
Yeah.
Because a telemarketer whose only job is to sit on the phone, they don't have distractions, right? So holding yourself accountable to the dials, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, she's only really hours dialed is 10.5.
Not bad, yeah, not a lot.
So if you figure out how to be ready to go when it's showtime, I mean, that's 2 hours a day.
Yes.
And you got to figure, let's say you do 2 hours a day, you got to figure you're going to get a listing each week out of it.
Yes, exactly.
And then you're going to grow your database, then on top of that, you'll grow your database. Because if you're just calling neighborhoods, hey, no, I'm not interested. Well, do you mind if I put you on my mailing list? Yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly it. Yep. So David, so you were talking about door knocking earlier on the call, and that you enjoy it and that it's comfortable for you. Yeah, how long would it take you to door knock and make 196 contacts?
I just changed my mind in the last 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah. That's been my experience too. I prefer
You changed my mind. That was a stupid comment, and sometimes stupid people make stupid comments.
You know what, David? It's not stupid at all. If you look at conversion ratios, because face-to-face is the highest level of communication, because you got physiology, you can read their physiology, you can mirror and match. There's so many other ways you can interact face-to-face. The challenge is getting in front of them. That's the challenge.
Yeah, if you were selling, TVs or if you were selling something that they truly needed, and your conversion rate was better, I would say face to face. But on this side, when you one out of every handful of people are looking to sell their home, every 25, 30 people are looking to sell their home. You got to do this. You got to just, like somebody said last week, hey, I'm not, trying to perfect the dialer. I'm not trying to perfect that voicemail. I'm just trying to find out the people who raise their hands, say, come see me. I'm interested in talking, selling my house.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Don't create the wave, ride the wave. Right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I completely appreciate that. And well, good. I'm glad you see this side of it. And not that I have a friend that just to reinforce what you said, I have a friend that owns a roofing company. And of course, he uses telemarketers and door knockers, and it's very similar business to real estate.
Yeah.
The difference is, though, like you were saying, is a hailstorm will go through an area. He'll load up a van full of 10 people in
Yeah.
bright green t-shirts and go door knock the whole neighborhood because he
Yeah.
knows they all need his product.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And then, and 20 of his competitors are there too. So,
Yep.
you know.
So
So it doesn't matter who's the first one to get the appointment to get in there and see him. And it's the same in our business.
same in our business. Yep. Especially
Yeah.
on new expireds.
Well, the new expireds, there's only 2 or 3 in my territory a day, if or 2 or 3 a week. I just go door knock those.
Yep.
I mean, they're fresh. I mean, that's a totally different than calling neighborhoods. Just trying to find that guy sitting there going, yeah, I'm ready. Come see me. But when you only get,
I think that's a great point, David. Is even with new expireds, the contact information is usually only good about 50% of the time. So the other 50% of the time, go door knock them. I totally agree.
well, that's the other thing is that at the end of the day, when you're right in front of them, I mean, my closing line is, they're like, well, I get mail. Maybe they get phone calls. They don't even get phone calls, but they've gotten mail. Whatever if it's been a couple of days or whatever, I didn't get to them the first day or something. The bottom line is that I said, how many people show up at your doorstep? And they're like, none. I said, who's going to work the hardest for you?
Yeah, that's great.
When do you want to see me?
Everybody needs to write that down. Everybody needs to write that down. That's a good one. Yep. Excellent. All right.
And I was just looking at half my inventory is expireds.
Nice.
Yeah. I got that down. It's the next level of getting those layups. Guy calls you, hey, you've been calling me, you've been sending me mail, come see me.
Absolutely, and you got the right attitude for it. Hold on, I got another hand up. I'm going to mute you and go over to Evan Lamb. Hold on, Evan. Evan, you got a question?
Yeah, a couple of things actually that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
One thing was, the conversion rate from a telemarketer to an agent dialing for himself is going to be greater, in my opinion, because the agent can see the upside of $6,000, and the telemarketer is getting $10 an hour.
Right.
So, is there a way that you found to overcome that? Because it's like, somebody says, well, they could even say it like this, oh, well, I don't think so, right? If they say that to me, I know they're thinking about it, and I just need to dig a little bit deeper, where a telemarketer might just say, oh, okay, bye.
That's a great question. Yeah, so there's levels of telemarketing, right? And Elliot and I had this conversation yesterday. So there's levels of telemarketing, and to start off with somebody who's new in making calls, your goal is just to get the easy fish, right? Get the fish that are swimming at the top of the barrel first. And then once you kind of get through that, then start moving to the next layer, which is digging deeper, challenging them to overcome objections. So as they get better, then you turn up the expectation of their ability to convert and close.
Right. Have you dealt with anybody that's paying bonuses for appointments or something like that to try to get them to dig deeper for it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Typically, when you're dealing with telemarketing, it's dependent on if they're licensed or not licensed. If they're licensed, you can pay them a percentage of the transaction when it closes. So I have one coaching client that does that, and he has an outstanding ISA. I mean, the guy gets him listing a week fairly consistently. Pretty amazing. Yet the challenge, of course, with somebody who's licensed is over time they usually figure out they could just go do it on their own, and you lose it. The other end of that, though, which we found a way that we believe is legal through RESPA and the Real Estate Commission, is to pay based on the appointment set and or gone on. So if the appointment confirms and you go on the appointment, to pay them a bonus on that. And that seems to be a good bonus structure where they're more motivated. And you can keep that bonus anywhere from $50 to a few $100, depending on your price point of your area. And that's effective. Right. And that's how Catherine.
And then another. Okay. Mm-hmm. Another comment that I had on, I think it was David that was talking, was he said, well, I'm not going to door knock anymore based on these numbers. Well, in my experience with door knocking, if you do it on a Saturday or on an evening, when people are home, in 10 hours, you're definitely going to contact 196 people. It's going to be a grueling 10 hours of out there banging on doors, but you are for sure going to contact that many. And in my experience, if I contact 196 people, I'm getting more than 2 appointments. So
totally agree.
I just wanted to mention that because I don't think you should give up on it. It differentiates yourself from everybody around. Nobody door knocks. Nobody door knocks except for like maybe, I don't know, 10 agents in the U.S. maybe door knock. Mm-hmm. I would imagine. And then another thing that I've noticed is that if David's listening, if your demographic is older folks, they really appreciate a door knock.
Yeah.
Younger folks don't appreciate it. They don't want it.
Yeah,
because they're like, why are you bothering me?
I think that's what David was saying. I'm going to go ahead and unmute David and both of you guys. You there, Dave?
I'm torn. What do I do?
We're confused. Yeah.
I think honestly, it's 100 degrees in Florida right now and it's raining every day, so it's hard to do it, on a consistent basis. But I will tell you this: I think as the weather change, I think it's a combination. I think it's the phone calls to kind of, it wouldn't even be bad to even if you contact somebody and say, hey, I'm not looking to sell my house, but then you show up door knocking them in the next couple of weeks. Hey, I talked to you on the phone. I just wanted to place, a face to a name, a face to a phone call.
Yeah.
You just, because, as many you're trying to get 1 lead, 2 leads a week, yeah. All right, hot leads, but you also are trying to generate, future business. And I think and it'll dominate a farm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just make this comment. Here's the challenge you're going to have door knocking long term is as you build your business and as you get more transactions, you're going to run out of time. And door knocking is just inefficient. So there's going to be a point in time in your career where you're just not going to have the time to door knock, and that's just going to happen. Although effectiveness, it is effective. So, all right. So a couple questions here. Is there, Sean has a question that says, is there success in a phone call then followed by a door knock for neighborhood calls? Sean, I think it's the same thing, man, yes, absolutely. There's nothing better than, that's called a sales funnel. So the sales funnel looks like a print mailer or advertisement, followed up with a phone call, followed up with a face-to-face, followed up with an event. That's a sales funnel, right? So there's no doubt that works. The challenge, again, is time. As you build your business, you're just going to run out of time to do that. And so although when we're talking about new expireds or even potentially recent expireds, if you can't get their contact information, go door knock them. right? If they're not answering their phone, go door knock them. Absolutely, I agree with that. All right, Evan. Evan says, if you're going to door knock an expired anyway, why not door knock 50 doors while you're there? Again, it comes back to efficiency. You know, I hate to get you guys in this pattern where you think that you need to door knock and make calls and go back and forth. My experience is you hit 30 deals a year, your time is at a premium until you hire somebody to assist you with your business. You're just not going to have time. You're just not going to have time to continue to door knock. It's not efficient enough. And Sean says, has anyone had success in hiring door knockers? Oh, man. That is a great question, Sean. So hiring door knockers, here's the challenge with it, is the cost to hire them. My experience has been it costs about $12 to $15 an hour per person. In order to be successful with it, you have to hire at least two to hold each other accountable. So, because one by themselves will kind of get lost and kind of go slow and whatever. And so if you have two there, you'll usually hold each other accountable to do it. So now you're upwards of $30 an hour. And as Evan was talking about, your conversion on that is somewhere around 225 to 250 doors to get an appointment. So that's 250 doors you're knocking on. You're going to probably talk to, depending on the time of day that you're door knocking, roughly 75 to 100 of people. And then from that, you're going to get an appointment. Your conversion on that appointment is going to be about 50%. So here's the challenge: is it's just really expensive to hire door knockers. The cost usually, in comparison to hiring somebody to call on the phone, hiring a door knocker is about double the cost of hiring somebody to telemarket for you. So if you're going to build a business, I would recommend building the telemarketing, the ISA first. Once you've flushed out that you've got as many calls as you can get done, then look at hiring door knockers to just door knock. And I would just stay with the expired listings. Just have them door knock the expireds. I think I have had very limited success in door knocking neighborhoods, hiring door knockers. Very low success rate on that, personally. Did I answer everybody's questions on that? You guys had a lot. Elliot, I'm just going to unmute you, Elliot, because I noticed you had a couple different comments there. You there, buddy? Elliot? Elliot. All right. Lost him. You might have muted yourself. Okay, so Elliot had two comments. One, he was commenting on Dave, and he said, Dave, if you can leverage 10 hours a week, it would be huge. You seem to know your market. And he says you could work it as step 1, step 2. So I assume he's talking about the call, then the follow-up. And then Elliot's next comment was, let me unmute you. You're back. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, what was your other comment?
You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what I was saying as far as the step 1, step 2 dialers, especially for the guys that are worried about having less experienced dialers, because they can play the numbers that way and burn through it, like we've been talking about, they will be able to create leads, and then what it does is it keeps their dialing time smarter. So somebody who's in a scarcity time issue, even with, just simple math, right, 10 hours times 100 dials an hour, that's 1,000 dials. Right, so you have a contact ratio of roughly, 15 to 20% off of that, and then from there, you got to realize that per every 40, contacts should really lead to about 5 leads, and maybe possibly even 1 appointment. So for a guy like Dave, who's a little bit more experienced, knows his market, speaks with a lot of confidence and certainty, he's going to do really well with something like that. So again, I know it's, he keeps saying he's one-man band, off the last couple of weeks. However, there does come a point in your career where you have to jump off the ledge and take that leap of faith. And so that's all I'm trying to do is encourage him to sometimes working smarter and finding somebody that, you can pay $10, or excuse me, 10, $15, $12 an hour with a small spiff for the appointment and an additional spiff. If you capture the listing, may really benefit somebody like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you build up enough revenue to hire somebody, that is the next level for sure. Unless you're just so good at prospecting that you're unwilling, or that's the best place for you to be. I know a guy who I coach that, he loves prospecting, right? And that's his best place to be in his business. And so leveraging out the other pieces seems to be a better scenario for him, if that makes sense. Right? All right. Dave has a question. All right, Dave, you there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and thank you for the thoughts on everything. And yes, that's the next step too, to find somebody. But you were talking about hiring door knockers. Another thing, my buddy owned a window company, and you got to be real careful with that too, is because there's insurance issues there too. You got a couple of people in a car driving around, coming up and getting bit by the dog or falling in the hole, when they're going from lot to lot, stepping in a hole or something. So it's something where I would be very, very tentative.
That's a great point, Dave. That's a really good point. There is some additional liability there, them wandering around people's properties and stuff, for sure. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so is there any other questions anybody else has? Go ahead and post your question or raise your hand. Want to keep us focused on making those calls. I know some of you guys are on vacation this week or taking some time off, but I think we're moving into the Super Bowl season here where people have overpriced their listings all across the nation because the market got good. And we're already starting to see upwards of 30% of the homes that are listed not selling. So they're expiring like crazy right now. So the next 3 months will make your year. You're going to have the ability in the next 3 months to make more money than most agents do in a year. I think you have enough. I think in the next 3 months, you're going to have the ability to make more money in 3 months, at least generate more money in 3 months than you ever have in your career if you focus in on the next 3 months. Because we've never seen in recent times people pricing properties as aggressively as they have right now. Sean says, even in Denver, absolutely, Sean. If you pull the statistics in Denver MLS, there's something like already year to date, some odd 6,000 or 8,000 expired homes in Denver already this year. So it's massive, man. I mean, Denver, even though Denver price points, even though Denver's one of the hottest markets in the country, it doesn't matter because what happens is, greed rules. And so, an agent goes in and does an interview with the seller, and the seller says, well, I know that my house is worth 400, but I want to try to get 450. And because the agent thinks the market's growing so fast, they go ahead and price it at 450. And sure enough, the seller then puts their heels in the ground. The agent's not well scripted on price reductions, and therefore they fail to get the property price where it needs to be. So, and then it expires, right? Because the agents are over aggressive, which creates such a great opportunity for us to step in and pick up listings. So, yes, absolutely, in Denver also. The only area, it's funny enough that you bring that up, the only area that I've even talked to anybody in that isn't like this is still in the Northeast. So up in northern New York state, in upstate New York. in West Pennsylvania. In those areas, the market is actually still very slow and sluggish. In some areas, it's still even a buyer's market. And so those areas, because the market's slower, you could pick up a bunch of listings. You just might not sell them by the end of the year. If that makes sense. Okay, any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, well, you guys stay focused. Stay with your contacts. Remember, minimum of 250 a week. One of the things that I'll challenge you with is start to think of your business as a business. And I know some of you guys are on vacation or taking vacation. Yet, if you owned a Subway sub shop and you were the owner and you were going on vacation, would you close the doors? Or would you find a way to keep that business open when you were gone? Meaning, if you're generating business for your real estate company and you're taking a week off or you're taking 5 days off and you're cutting into your lead generation time, my opinion is you got to find somebody, even temporarily, to continue those lead generation calls for you, even when you're not there. Because some of the process and operations can stop working when you're not, because obviously you can schedule out closings, you can schedule out inspections and those kind of things. But lead generation always has to continue. So I want you to start thinking about your real estate business as a business, and just because you're gone doesn't mean that your lead generation has to stop. It just means you have to prepare for your vacations. Find somebody short-term, part-time, in the Philippines, I don't care, to continue to make those contacts for you, to continue to generate business, so when you come back from vacation, you have deals in the pipeline. So, all right, guys, have a great week. We will talk soon. Keep it up.